everybody, to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show featuring Dr. Carolyn Dean. Join Dr. Dean for the next 2 hours, along with her host, cohort, and good buddy, Ginny Sanders, also known as Ginny Almighty. Join Dr. Dean as she shares with us her vast range of experience, knowledge, talent, and wisdom. Phone lines are now open, and we'll be taking your calls from around the world and here in the USA.
Welcome everyone. Dr. Carolyn Dean live here on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting humankind with universal love, or as I like to say, uniting humankind with the wisdom, benefit, and incredible medical intelligence of our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean, who is going to be here with you for the next 2 hours to absolutely delight you with the most incredible, wonderful, inspiring, and simple information full of goodness and wisdom to help you manage your health, vitality, and well-being. And it's just the most delightful privilege to be here with you to do that. I'm Ginny Sanders, also known as Ginny Almighty. I'll be with you and Dr. Dean for the next 2 hours. And we're going to talk, and we're going to take phone calls, and we're going to do a chat line, and we're going to be on YouTube. And oh my gosh, we do so many things while we're here. But the main thing that we're here for is you. We're here to inspire you and to help you achieve the kind of well-being that you want to have. And you, this year, 2021, after the rocking year we've been through in 2020, you've got a little wisdom under your belt too. We know that about you because you've had a lot of experiences in these last couple months that have taught you a lot about what you need to know, what you need to do in order to protect your health and to live your best life. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Dr. Carolyn Dean, if you're tuning in for the very first time, is of course the author of the #1 bestseller, The Magnesium Miracle, Discovering Missing Links to Total Health. And she is probably the world's leading expert, not only on magnesium and its incredible benefit for the body, but also on magnesium supplementation. And it's one thing to know that you need a thing, but it's another thing to get the thing that you need in the way that you need it. And Dr. Dean has mastered all of that and is going to share that with you tonight, along with much good information about nutrition, dietary supplementation. And tonight we're going to talk about how to keep those fitness goals that you set, because we know you set them. We know you did. Even people who don't make New Year's resolutions and say they don't really do. Because deep down in your heart, what we all want is the same thing. We always want more. We want to feel better. We want to look better. We want to enjoy our lives more. That's why we're here. So before I bring her in, I just want to let you know that this is not a medical advice show. Dr. Dean cannot answer medical questions, but we do talk about the things that do matter to you. And she will give you information that you can use about how to use nutrition and very safe strategies to your benefit as you work with your other medical wisdom, allopathic medicine, or protect your family doctor in order to accomplish those goals. So we're here to celebrate all that. And so tonight, without further ado, oh gosh, you know what I did is I did not do the thing that I was supposed to do because I haven't been on the show for 2 weeks. I certainly forgot to organize the children. So I'll just have to say it for myself. Tonight, we welcome our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean. Yay!
I helped you out there, Ginny.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Very simple. And I took the word simple. I never know what Ginny's going to say. I don't think she knows what she's going to say either. So it just comes out, but then I resonate with a word here and there, phrase here and there. And today it was simple, that we do our best to keep it simple. And for some people, it seems like it's too simple. And I know Ginny will probably agree with me, especially when we say to people, or our customers say, or on Facebook or Amazon, they have testimonials and say, well, I took especially the Remag, and all these wonderful things happen. And some people, but no, that's not going to happen. That's too simple. Or their doctor will say, no, magnesium's a laxative. That's not going to help you. And I just want to say that we're not saying poor health and what people are going through, especially the total body meltdown. We're not saying that simple at all, but you have to realize what we're looking at is just a natural approach to getting your body back at the cellular level so that the cells then can reproduce perfectly and create healthier tissue. That's what we're doing. And this is not information that I learned in medical school. And I kind of learned it in naturopathic training. But even then, when you study vitamins and minerals, it's just kind of very general, very generic. And when they were discovering the various vitamins, for example, once they had them all listed, they moved on. Nobody really got to the point of saying, well, let's use nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that are well absorbed. Let's do that. Let's do that experiment. And that's where I stepped in, just because of my personal magnesium deficiency symptoms, the worst of which was heart palpitations. And nobody was looking at a magnesium that was so well absorbed that it wouldn't cause the laxative effect, because magnesium has that fail safe. If you have, quote, too much, it comes out the other end. But it turns out what most people have when they get the laxative effect with most magnesiums is just a poorly absorbed magnesium. So the big breakthrough was creating the Remag, and the chemist that I work with made it into a stabilized ion of magnesium, which made it so small at a picometer size it could be absorbed into the cells readily, and the stabilization was long lasting. And we proved that in our nutrients paper. I think the paper is probably linked at our Dr. Carolyn Dean Live site. Is it still linked at the top of the homepage of that website, Ginny?
Yes, it is there now and forevermore.
And yes, until we put all the others on top of it, because
That's right.
And we keep doing this because we have such incredible results. The paper is called Circulating Ionized Magnesium as a Measure of Supplement Bioavailability. So it just means our magnesium is stable as an ion and it's bioavailable. And that's been proven in this research paper. So it is a huge breakthrough. It may sound simple, but no one else did it. No one did this study. No one created this type of product before. And what it has allowed us to do, and me specifically, because I used to get the laxative effect with 50 milligrams of an ordinary magnesium. I remember once, Ginny, I lost about 10 pounds through the laxative effect, before I realized that a new supposedly natural multiple that I was taking had 50 milligrams of magnesium in it. So it's vital for people who have magnesium deficiency symptoms to be able to take enough magnesium to clear up the symptoms. And we also kind of walk a very fine line with this, because we know, and I've listed over 65 health conditions that can be associated with magnesium deficiency, in that when you saturate yourself with the Remag magnesium, the symptoms of these so-called diseases are alleviated. So in fact, you didn't have a disease, you had a magnesium deficiency. but the FDA won't allow us to write about those things. We can't even put customer testimonials on our RNA reset website. So our hands are tied about educating people in terms of the absorptibility of REMAG, and then we extend that into our Remite, our Pico Silver, et cetera, et cetera. So to us, it's simple, but I mean, for the, gosh, what would it be? 75, 80 years that they've been, the nutritionists have been looking into vitamins and minerals. No one came to the point of saying, well, we just got to make these things absorbed. And what we did with our vitamins, the B vitamins in Realign, we made them methylated and food-based. Our vitamin whole C, vitamin C is food-based. Our vitamin C reset is ascorbic acid, so we can give it in high doses for its antiviral effects and its heart effects and its collagen effects. So everything that we're working with is designed for the best absorption. Many of our products, our complement formulas have our RNA powder in them, which is our magic catalyst that we talk a lot about, but it's another simple thing that we've made from barley seeds. We sprout barley, create our RNA drops, dehydrate it, and put that into our products. And our experiment there was with plants. We did the radish experiment and proved that when plants have a healthy life force, they don't attract weeds and predators. Weeds and predators, according to the rules of nature, they will just attack organisms that are weak and dying. They're not going to attack healthy organisms. It's just the balance of nature. And the same in the human body. When you're healthy and alive and vibrant, and you have that little gleam in your eye, then you're going to stay healthy. And that's what we are focused on with our formulas. So anything to add to that, Ginny, before I move on?
I think that is one of the most comprehensive and concise statements you've made in the opening of a show, and I salute you.
Yay! Once again, poor children. Well, they're still on vacation. That's all that's going on there.
That's right.
Okay, good. Here's my COVID update. I pulled this from the email from the Alliance for Natural Health. It's an advocacy group founded in 2002 by Robert Burkirk. He was a friend of mine in the health freedom movement. He started the organization out of the United Kingdom, and there is a big branch in the US, and they're trying to lobby the government about allowing choice in healthcare where people are allowed to do alternatives. Now, the email they sent out most recently that I was attracted to says 100% of Americans don't get the potassium they need. Lack of potassium is linked to COVID deaths. 94% of Americans don't get the vitamin D they need. Studies show that vitamin D is preventing COVID-19. 52% don't get the magnesium they need. Now I say 80%, but it's still very high. 52% don't get the magnesium they need, and magnesium carries potassium into the cell, activates vitamin D, and so much more. And as you know, those are three of the couple of handfuls of products that we have that support the immune system. And they go on, because they're an advocacy group, they go on and say, no one hears about any of this. Why? because under federal law, as interpreted by the FDA and FTC, we're not allowed to be told that a lack of vitamin D leads to weak bones, immune system deficiencies, and from there to death from COVID-19, other illnesses, and cancer. We can't read on a magnesium supplement bottle what the government's own health agencies report about magnesium, which is that hundreds of critical body processes depend on it. And as I say, most weeks, we have our so-called health experts standing up there telling us all about what, vaccine to take and to wear your mask. But they themselves, like Dr. Fauci, who takes 8,000 international units of vitamin D a day, will not tell you to do the same. And I think that's criminal. We do have our blog for today, but Ginny, someone said to me over the holiday weekend, they asked if I could give travelers advice for people, in the COVID world who are traveling. And like I do with a lot of things, I said, I wonder what I've written on travelers advice. And sure enough, in the Future Health Now encyclopedia, I have several pages on what to do when you're traveling. So I'll just, I'll bounce through them, but you may know by now that my Future Health encyclopedia is 600 pages, going through 130 different health conditions and a lot of tips and advice. It's a free download at drcarolyndeanlive.com under books. So what you do is just go to it, download it as a PDF, and you can search it for traveler's advice and have that information on hand every day, 24/7, 365. So I say, here are the steps I take when I'm traveling. I take a dose of homeopathic oscillococcinum before every flight. You can look it up, and the spelling is right there in the book, so I'll just leave it at that. It is an anti-flu remedy, and it has had studies to prove its efficacy compared to the flu vaccine, which is 1 to 2% effective. Note that. The next is I do immune boosting with Pico Silver. Now I say 1 to 2 teaspoons a day when traveling. I'm in the habit now of doing 2 teaspoons every day of Pico Silver, and I continue that when I'm traveling. But I also put Pico Silver in a nasal syringe or a little spray bottle that it has a little, I don't know, is that what you would call those bottles that you found, Ginny, that we're all using? A nasal spray or something?
Yes, they are. They're, yep, that's right.
Yeah. So they have a little tube on the top of it, and you hold it, in one hand, and then you push the depressor up in, and allows the spray to go up into your nose, and you just sniff it in, and it goes in your sinuses. It goes, in the back of your throat, and it can protect you. Say you come in from being outside in, groups of people, just do a couple of sprays. I sprayed myself a couple of times when I was on my plane flight going over to see Ginny the 1st of December. And I also use a personal air purifier that I wear around my neck. The one, when I was writing this book, this part of the book, mine was called an air tamer. Now I have like a medallion, and it's either a negative ion device, or they used to have little mini ozonators. I don't know if they have that anymore. Ginny, does Greg travel with such a thing?
We don't have the ozone, the neck wearing ozone units. No.
Okay. But you can look on Amazon and see if that would be something you'd like to wear. It probably works to a certain extent. Maybe there's a placebo factor, but those are several things you can do. Now, wait,
let's just say, if it's making ozone, and you can tell it's making ozone because it smells like ozone, ozone is going to kill everything with the carbon chain, and there's not going to be anything that's going to survive of that. So
Right.
if the question is just, if you're going to do that, make sure you get a high quality unit and not something that's cheap. But if, smells like ozone, it's going to work. It's going to work.
Yeah. And you don't want it to smell strongly of ozone. So like Ginny says, it would have to be well made so that you just get, enough ozone to circulate around your face. So just look into that. And then in terms of your gastrointestinal tract, for people who are concerned about eating out while you're traveling, you can use grapefruit seed extract capsules, and you take 1 to 2 at the end of every meal to prevent bacterial or parasitic or viral infections, but mostly bacterial and parasitic that can cause traveler's diarrhea. Before the company made capsules, I used to travel with GSE, grapefruit seed extract by Nutrabiotic, but it was just so deadly strong, the taste of it. I'd carry empty gelatin capsules, put food drops in and swallow them. And I did it, immediately on before swallowing, because if you put the Nutrabiotic GSE in a capsule, it would eat right through it. So that wouldn't work. You can also use hydrochloric acid, digestive type tablets to help kill any infections that get in your stomach from the food you're eating. And that's what our stomach acid is supposed to do naturally. But our stomach acid requires magnesium and other nutrients in order to create the hydrochloric acid. I also take my Flora Revive antifungal probiotic to build up the good bacteria in my intestines. And Flora Revive is great for traveling. It does not have to be refrigerated. And then I just, the simple kind of common sense tips about don't drink water. That means ice.
Okay, everybody. Wow, what a fun new year. We are not going to take any more callers on the show. We're just going to work with Dr. Dean and myself, along with our producer, to finish producing the show. And then we will edit out that section and redistribute it. So, Carolyn, you're here? Carolyn?
Yes.
Okay. No callers. We'll just keep going.
Okay. So we'll edit up to here, and here we will begin. The blog for today is Reset Your Ideal Weight, or it's taken from the book Reset Your Ideal Weight, and it's your weight loss resolution. And what we do with resolutions is at the beginning of the year, we clear the slate and we start over again. And one of the things about a weight loss resolution is learning about, you can call it intuitive eating, but it really is just eating when you're hungry. And what I have talked about in the past is the liver snacking, where the liver stores glycogen, it stores sugars for when you aren't eating, for when you're fasting, for overnight. And what I was encouraging people to do about liver snacking is don't eat for 4 or 5 or 6 hours, and let yourself get hungry, and let your body start to break down the glycogen, glycogen, sugar stores in your liver. And this is really important, actually, because if you just keep storing sugar, you can overload your liver, and that could be related to a real epidemic of fatty liver that people are experiencing. Fatty liver can occur in people who are alcoholic, but it turns out it can also occur in people who are eating a lot of sugar, especially the high fructose corn syrup, sweetener sugars, and people who store their glycogen and just don't allow it to be metabolized. It just keeps building. So I think that's pretty interesting about exercising your liver. And people wrote to me after I talked about that liver snacking and said it was quite amazing because they'd never allowed themselves to feel hunger because they'd always been eating every couple of hours. Now, people with low blood sugar, they'll tell you, well, I have to eat every couple of hours. I can't do without. But that has to do with poor nutrient absorption. It has to do with the way your body metabolizes what you're eating anyway. So there's a balance that you can achieve there by working with your health, doing your exercise, doing your fluid intake, drinking enough water is very important for your metabolism. And sea salt in the water makes it a superfood. For example, there are 72 different trace minerals in sea salt. And when you put that in your water, they're absorbed. And we don't know exactly how all that works. There hasn't been enough research. There really is not enough money put into nutrition research. I talked about earlier our magnesium studies on absorption. There really aren't any good studies showing how vitamins and minerals are absorbed. Same with the vitamins. They can help curb your appetite, because what happens if you aren't getting the nutrients, the vitamins and minerals from the food you're eating, you keep eating. It's like there's an emptiness. There's something missing, and you keep eating in order to fill that void. And if you're just eating high calorie foods, then you're going to gain weight and not gain nutrition. So, those are just some very basic things about weight loss, but I do refer you to reset your ideal weight so that you can get the information about the type of diet I recommend, even the detoxification. I have a big section on coffee enemas. I think I wrote the book. I'm looking at it now, looking at the table of contents. And I wrote the book when I started to go into the keto diet, ketogenic diet. And they talked about its the way the body metabolizes the fat gives us our calories rather than using carbohydrates for our calories. And that can help with weight loss. And the keto diet, I knew it at the time, but I realized with more and more people going into keto that they were foregoing their carbohydrates, which meant their vegetables, which meant their potassium. And if you remember what I said earlier about 100% of people being deficient in potassium, then, that's even worse in people who are on the keto or paleo or the carnivore diets. They aren't getting their potassium, which is mostly in carbohydrates. So look at the book. You may gain some insight, but if you're on a ketogenic diet, just make sure you're taking your Remag, Remite, your Pico Potassium, etc. So I think rather than just going over the book, Ginny. And I know we don't have callers because of our unexpected guest. But, what can we do? Do we have questions that came in the chat? I do have a couple of testimonials, but also, do you have any input, or like I said, any questions come in? Did they come in before we had our guest?
Yes, what happened was we did get some great questions from Alan and Johanna, so I'm going to read those to you, and then we'll go from there and see where everybody's at. And of course, you can chat through the chat line here at Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. You can go right to the chat line here, or you can meet me over on YouTube, and I will respond to your questions. And one of the questions that we got from Alan was, I've increased my D3 K2 from 5,000 to 10,000 IUs a day. And he wants to know how long it's going to take till his D gets to a more reasonable number, like 50. Now, he didn't exactly say where he started. So he says he's doing it on a month at 10,000 IUs, and he was at 5,000 IUs before that. So go ahead, Carolyn.
Right. It usually takes 3 months for the body to kind of do a big turnover of something like vitamin D. When I went from 19 to 53, I didn't test for about 5 months. So I don't know when I made the big leap. So I'd say anywhere between 3 and 6 months. And it's interesting, when I did my increase, I didn't notice anything different. But as I've said before, what happened with my blood test is when I had that increase from 19 to 53, my high magnesium level, I think that it was like 63, and it went down to 49. So what was happening is my D3 was being activated by my extra magnesium, but because I was fully saturated, I didn't miss it. But a lot of people, when they increase their vitamin D and they don't have enough magnesium or don't increase their magnesium, they can start getting back their magnesium deficiency symptoms. Does that make sense, Ginny?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. So that's why we're doing the testing. We'll find out all kinds of interesting information. I mean, I was shocked to hear about every customer was low in their vitamin D, and we thought they were getting it from our previous recommendation. And all this came about in the fall of 2019, where I said, look, we've got to do something about this. So we made the product just in time for the whole COVID business. So it was very serendipitous. So we're glad of that. And yes, Alan, give it 3 to 6 months. It'd be interesting if you repeated it at 3 months and see where you are, and then did another repeat at 6 months. I know Ginny was going to see about getting in just the vitamin D blood test from Grassroots Health, so that we could follow the D. Because even with magnesium, I've just told people just to take 2 to 4 teaspoons and just keep taking it as long as you're not getting the laxative effect, and take it until your symptoms are reversing. Because the reason why I was saying that in the past is even the red blood cell magnesium test was not as accurate as we hoped. And one of the things about our research with our doctor friend, Taylor Wallace, is that we are promoting the ionized magnesium test. We're showing with our experiments that the serum tests, even the RBC tests, aren't as good as the ionized magnesium, because when you do a test, you want it to be accurate. with the RBC blood test, people would just say, yeah, I'm up a little bit, or, it just really didn't seem to correlate with people's symptoms. I remember one doctor who took our Remag, and I don't know if he was feeling better. He wouldn't tell me, but he said he did his RBC test after a certain amount of time doing the Remag, and said his levels dropped. So obviously the Remag wasn't working. But that was inappropriate statement. It can actually happen that in the first couple of months of taking magnesium, that your blood levels will go down because your cells are using the magnesium, and it's not just sitting around in your bloodstream. So we have to look at that as well. If you do a test within the first couple of months, is it an accurate enough test according to, the body revving up and using the nutrients? So anyway, long-winded answer because we have all the time in the world today, right, Ginny?
It seems so. But we've got great people chatting us up on the YouTube thing too. I never run out of anything to say, so I'm sure we'll be fine. But Bishop 7 typed in and said, my wife was hospitalized in March of 2020 with low sodium, and they told her she drank too much water. So he's concerned now because she's drinking the Remite water, right? To get the minerals in. So she said 3 nights ago, she had not been keeping up on her water during the day, and she practically chugged it all before she went to bed. So she's feeling a little bit similar to her low sodium event, and she's thinking that maybe the minerals are not working well, or she's got too much water, or this, that, and the other thing. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, the drinking water is one thing, but the water should have sea salt in it. So I don't know if Bishop 7 mentioned that. It's very important to put the sodium in it, and all the minerals work together. I don't know what guidelines they're using. We say take your body weight in pounds, divide that in half, drink that many ounces of water. In each liter of water, put a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. And then someone who has this type of sodium loss, it can be something to do with the kidneys, but they can heal. But the only way they can heal if you take nutrients like Remag, Remite, the Realign, and your vitamin C's. So look at the whole picture, not to just sort of pacify or treat treat the results of the quote problem. You're treating the low sodium, but use our nutrients to build up whatever the kidneys are doing wrong. Pico Silver is going to be important there too, because if you read the Pico Silver book, Pico Silver stimulates stem cells in the bone marrow, and the stem cells then will go off to different areas in the body as needed to help build more perfect cells and tissues. So yeah, she still has a low sodium problem, as evidenced by drinking a whole bunch of perhaps straight water without sea salt at night, and putting her into a bit of a dip. But
okay.
There's, yep.
He is corresponding with me through the YouTube and telling me that she is following our guidelines for water and sea salt. So it does have the salt in it. And when they went to the hospital in March 2020, they told her that her kidney function was normal, but they did tell her at that time to go see a kidney doctor. But as you say, Carolyn, the bodies can definitely heal. And of course, if they were told to see a kidney doctor, maybe they should. But it sounds like she's doing the water and the minerals according to the guidelines. So,
right, and the minerals are part of the picture, definitely. I mean, if sodium was identified, okay, let's deal with minerals. But as I said, look at the vitamins as well. Maybe get Bishop Seven and his wife to talk to Julie and just go through a whole protocol. And we don't treat disease. We just go through our protocol to make sure the body's getting all the nutrients that it requires.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And the Pico Silver, that stem cell thing is just so exciting. And we've had so many incredible testimonials about how Pico Silver helps people's bodies. Now, interestingly enough, here on the YouTube channel tonight, and thanks everybody for transitioning over to our station on YouTube. New Earth Television wrote in and commented and said, I've adopted the practice of using the silver as a nasal spray and my allergies disappeared. Thanks for sharing this on an earlier broadcast. So it's so fun what the body does with our minerals, especially because you set off and embark on one journey and you end up healing so many other things.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yes, when there's yeast in the nasal passages and sinus cavities, it will irritate and poke little holes. And then when you inhale, like soap, going down the soap aisle in a grocery store is just horrible for people who have these nasal allergies, often caused by yeast. So you're spraying your Pico Silver in there, you treat the yeast, you treat all that postnasal drip stuff that's, trying to protect your sinuses. Really, those big, lumps of mucus, that, sorry, Ginny, I know you hate specifics like that. The mucus that you're snorting up or swallowing is just trying to protect the surface membranes of your nasal passages. And if you get rid of the yeast that's irritating your nasal passages, then you can get rid of your allergies. It's that simple. You just, silver coat your mucous membranes.
Right on. Very good. Very good. Yes, absolutely. And okay, we have a couple more questions coming in before the top of the hour. Brian and Corinne are on our YouTube channel asking, can Remag and Remite help with estrogen dominant hormone imbalance or libido?
Is it for the with the estrogen? We're implying female here, but yes. What can I say there? It's usually an imbalance of too much estrogen, not enough progesterone, estrogen dominance, and magnesium does play a part. Just because in the cycling, you need more magnesium at mid-cycle to the menses, and that has something to do with creating more progesterone. It's not at the top of my brain, but I do have some of that information. Where would that be? Do I have a women's book?
Yes,
Jenny?
you do. Yes, you do. You have a webinar. You have a webinar, and it's called Total Body Reset for Women, Corinne. And actually, we did a webinar and we did a great radio show panel where some of our very experienced customers who've rehabilitated their bodies with our products shared their testimonials. So you can email support, SUPPORT, at rnareset.com and get the links, or you can just go to drcarolyndeanlive.com and search Total Body Reset for Women in the search bar, and both of those resources will pull up for you. And then you can take a look at that and a book. So you've got three things. You've got a webinar, you've got a radio show, and you've got a book. All great resources to listen to. And also, what about zinc and libido, Carolyn? I know it helps. Is it for men and women, or is it just for women or men? Or
that's it. Well, zinc is more for the prostate in men that I've heard, but there's a whole balance there. Brian and Corinne were asking about Remite, that does have our pico zinc in there as well, but the remite is going to help support the thyroid, which helps to balance out the sex hormones, because it's adrenals, thyroid, and sex hormones, the tripod that's important to balance out. You don't just look at estrogen. When I was in practice, back in the early 70s, I was working with PMS, really severe PMS, and we would use progesterone, but we had to use progesterone suppositories because there were no progesterone treatments that people could take, because if you took progesterone by mouth, it would get metabolized in the liver and it wouldn't go to the end point. So I haven't done that for decades, and lately we haven't had to go there, because when you do use the Remag, Remite, and the B vitamins in Realign and the vitamin C, the B's and the C are supporting the adrenal glands. And this is what you'll read in the Total Body Reset for women, is to balance everything. So you don't just focus on the estrogen, which is what even the holistic, not even, because the allopathic gynecologists don't even, they just kind of suppress the hormones in order to treat them. But the natural medicine doctors, they just give, they say, natural hormones to balance an estrogen imbalance. But what we say is take the nutrients that help the body balance the hormones naturally. It's just a whole different focus.
Right. Very good. Very good. And so many women on that show recovered and have recovered in so many different ways. I mean, what the body does with minerals is amazing, and ours are so fully absorbed. So, and here's just a funny kind of side note to that, because Kathy just typed in on the chat line, I put Remag lotion and rubbing it on my feet to help with sleep, and I had nail fungus on my toes and it went away. So it just goes to show you these silly bodies will just take off and do fun things when you help them out a little bit.
Right. Yes, and we've never even talked about Remag or for fungus, but it just gets the immune system going. What we have noticed when people use the Remag liquid, that their immune systems kick up enough to start getting rid of yeast, to the point where people start having kind of yeast detox symptoms. And they say, what's going on? I get a little more gas. I've got a rash. I've got vaginitis. Everything's acting up. And it's because the body says, now is the time to get rid of your yeast. And we just tell people that, and they just add the Flora Revive, their Pico Silver, and go on a more yeast-free diet, and they're good to go.
Right. Okay, Carolyn, we've got to wrap up this first hour, move into our transition to the next hour by doing our little commercial segment. So we're going to take a break here and do that, everybody. But in the meantime, thanks for jumping on YouTube. That was great. We've got some new questions coming in through there, and we've got all kinds of great information coming up in the next hour, including responding to some inquiries about the RNA drops and what they do for people. So we'll be right back, everybody. Hang in there. Keep your questions coming, and we'll be right back.
We'll be back with Hour 2 of the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show, along with host Ginny Sanders, right after this brief station break. can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com. That's drcarolyndean.com.
Did you know there are 65 health conditions associated with magnesium deficiency? Magnesium deficiency is a public health crisis growing in scope and proportion. Dr. Carolyn Dean, author of The Magnesium Miracle, has identified over 65 health conditions associated with magnesium deficiency, 100 factors that lead to magnesium deficiency, and 24 reasons why magnesium deficiency occurs. Order The Magnesium Miracle today at Amazon.com and learn how to remedy this pervasive condition.
Do you have questions about your health? Are you wondering about alternatives? Do you ever wish you could have 5 minutes with a doctor you can trust? Someone who is an internationally recognized authority in the field of natural medicine? Meet award-winning doctor, naturopath, and best-selling author of The Magnesium Miracle, Carolyn Dean, MD, ND. Hear a wealth of information designed to empower listeners and callers to discover how to improve health, vitality, and well-being through a variety of safe strategies and nutritional options. Dr. Carolyn Dean Live. Shows can be heard every Monday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern, with weekly live shows, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Natural health, vitality, and well-being. Yes, everyone wants it, but not everyone is sure how to achieve it. Dr. Carolyn Dean's Completement Formulas are more than just dietary supplements. They're whole foods and picometer minerals designed to complete your nutrition, not just supplement it. Experience the difference Dr. Dean's formulas make. Visit RNAreset.com to learn more. That's RNARESET.com.
Omega Institute, offering workshops, retreats, and online learning dedicated to awakening the best in the human spirit. With more than 40 years at the forefront of holistic studies, Omega is known the world over as a trusted source for integrated approaches to personal growth and social change. Located in Rhinebeck, New York, just 90 miles north of New York City, Omega's natural environment and quiet pace allow for extraordinary experiences to unfold. Learn more at eomega.org or call 877-944-2002. Again, 877-944-2002.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Return now to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show, along with her host, cohort, and good buddy, Ginny Sanders. Phone lines are open during live broadcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Hour 2 live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting humankind with universal love and uniting Dr. Carolyn Dean with the rest of the world and everybody in it who has such a joyful expectation of feeling amazing and being able to just ride the wave of excellence in health and in beauty and in vibrance by using our extraordinary formulas and her very simple, profound advice, which, as we talked about at the top of the first hour, is sometimes so easy that it causes people to shudder. But just like our good friend Maria typed in on the break, she said, "Hey, does Remake help with hair growth?" And I said, "Yes, as a matter of fact, it does." And she said, yes, my husband's hair was thinning out, and now I noticed that it is much fuller. Isn't that fun? Or a little fuller. Isn't that great? So yes, it's amazing. You know, we could spend days and days and days talking about remag in it of itself, because of the way that the body requires magnesium in every single cell of the body to make energy. And what is energy? Energy is life force. And what is life force? Life force is life. And how do you recognize the aliveness of your being? One of the ways is through hair and nail growth. And so that aliveness is being demonstrated as your hair becomes full, your nails become stronger, your skin becomes more vibrant. That aliveness is being pushed out from the core of your being.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Yep.
Yes, it's the spark of life. I wrote that in the Magnesium Miracle, that magnesium is a spark of life. You know, all the fireworks, most of them are ignited by a magnesium strip. It's that kind of bright white lightning effect. And that's what we're feeling in our bodies.
Really?
Yep.
Fireworks like on the 4th of July, that spark is coming from magnesium?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh. Wow.
Oh. Right.
Oh, another Dr. Dean revelation for Ginny over here. Wow, that is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It is very cool.
We're getting fired up, people. Fired up. Well, that's exciting. Well, welcome back to Hour 2. Thanks for everybody for jumping over on YouTube. We had a little bit of a problem with some uninvited guests in our first hour, but I think we've gotten them under control now, and we're pressing on with our important schedule. Now, Carolyn, a couple questions that came through on the chat line, and this is over at Dream Vision 7, is this question from Joanna, who has asked this question before, but we want to clear it up for her maybe once and for all. She's doing cancer treatment. She's in the breast cancer radiation treatment, and she has 2 more treatments to go. So she wants to find something to help her body rebound back to health. And she's taking the Remag, the Remite, the Realign, and the Pico Silver. She's wondering about the RNA drops because she did see the webinar and she was looking at it to find out more about it. But she's concerned that the RNA drops, because they help make cells perfect, may actually influence the cancer cells to become more prolific.
No, Joanna, I think what you would do to sort of relieve your mind of that is go back to, or for the first time, to our RNA Reset Drops webinar. And in that video, on my iPhone, I took pictures of our radish experiment, and we show quite definitively that when you're exposed to the RNA drops or the RNA powder or the Mighty Mash, which is the leftovers from those processes, that it makes perfect plants and perfect cells, and parasites or worms or even weeds are deflected. When the body's healthy, then the predators just don't take hold. They just go for weaker organisms to invade. So not at all will it grow anything less than perfect cells.
Yep. Very good. Very good. So you've got it right here. And of course, you know, another thing that Dr. Dean always says is that if you take something and it doesn't feel good and it, you know, to you, don't take it. You know, we're not, so the same thing with the drops. If you can get your mind clear, as Carolyn says, watch that webinar again and hear the information again. And if you can't, just don't worry about it. You've got Remag, Remite, you're doing the Pico Silver. You've got great assets and you're doing really well with your treatments and your body's responding. So you're not at any risk for not recovering. Wouldn't you say so, Carolyn?
Yes, absolutely. And I know from other women who've had the radiation, post-surgical radiation, they put Remag lotion on their skin and it stops the radiation burns. They never had any problem with their skin. So that's helpful as well. And if you don't have Remag lotion on hand, just spray the Remag directly on it. Or if you're using a cream on your skin, mix Remag liquid into your cream, your own cream, spin it up in a little blender and put that on. It can just heal your skin.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Excellent. Okay. So I think we're good. I think we're very good with that. And let's see also what Bob is talking about. Bob emailed and said, or on YouTube says, my wife has Addison's disease and Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and she takes hydrocortisone and thyroid meds. She's wondering if there are any contraindications for her taking any of your products.
No, Addison's is the adrenal glands being very low. So that's where the taking the prednisone pills is important. You know, this is not a case where you're trying to get off your prednisone, but you're trying to support the body. I would read, do I have a thyroid book? Yes. Read my, is it Total Body Reset for Your Thyroid, something like that, Jenny?
Yes, I believe so. And it's the second one we did in 2018. I can put the link here on the chat line.
So read my thyroid book, and I talk about Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's is an autoimmune disease of the thyroid, and it can be triggered by gluten. It can be triggered by chlorine in the water. So there's a lot of things going on there, and it turns into low thyroid at a certain point. And for the thyroid in general, the Remite is very important, as long as it's not hyperthyroid. And for Addison's, just to support the adrenals, it's vitamin C, it's the sea salt in the water, and the minerals. So the way we tell people about these minerals, it's what should be in your food, but it isn't. So it's like taking food. There is never a contraindication to taking the Remag and the Remite, except, I mean, when I started to say that, I realized that heart block is a contraindication, and myasthenia gravis. There are 4 contraindications: bowel blockage, real serious conditions where you're under a doctor's supervision. So our nutrients are foods, and giving you what the body is missing, because our food is so depleted these days. So keep us posted about how your wife feels on our nutrients, Bob.
Yeah. And one of the things about thyroid meds, Carolyn, I do know there's no contraindications, but a lot of times people will say that they've been told that they have to wait a certain amount of time in between taking their thyroid medication and dietary supplement. But that's not a contraindication, Bob. That's just basic instructions. There's no problem with doing them within the course of a day.
And I think it's an old wives' tale or an old doctor's tale. I really do. We've talked about this many times, where people are even told they have to wait 4 hours to take magnesium after their thyroid meds. And that may be because doctors mostly think magnesium is a laxative. So they don't want people just flushing their medications out with a laxative. So it's, really ridiculous rules have been they just add up. They never stop. I mean, it reminds me when I did my month in geriatrics, where, I calmed everything down, so I had nothing to do for days and days and days. So I went to the charts, and I saw that in the charts, doctors would, give one medication, 3 months ago, and then give a different one, and not stop the order of the other one. And these poor inhabitants were taking dozens of medications for no reason, getting, all kinds of side effects from them. So this was before computers. So I created flow charts and files and showing what they were on, and just totally, luckily I didn't hang around. So, they couldn't hate me too much, but I just embarrassed those doctors no end, because, you just keep adding more rules, adding more prescriptions, adding more crap. Anyway, don't do that. Don't.
All right. Very good. Very good. I am also one of the things that Corinne asked was, should each bottle of water that you drink have a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt in it, even if the bottles don't have Remag and Remide in them? And
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can.
Yeah, the water we use now, pretty much everybody's filtering their water, buying bottled water. It doesn't have anything in it anymore. It's lucky that I don't know. I was going to say it's lucky it works, but the distilled waters, for example, are so dead, and they actually pull minerals out of the body. They don't add. So we have to be putting sea salt in our water. Absolutely have to. The water, as I said, all our water's filtered. Even at the water pumping stations, it's filtered, because you don't want the heavy metals and whatever. Most water, when it's tested, has drug residues in it. All our water is contaminated, so it has to be filtered in one way or another.
Right. Very good. Very good. And also, when it comes down to, like, for example, Corinne was also saying, I've been having chest pains that feel like I'm stressed out, even though I don't feel stressed. I'm not doing anything stressful. Why is that happening? And I'm just saying on the chat line that there is a threshold to what we can do online. I mean, if you have a cardiologist or a doctor, you really need to seek that kind of thing, because we can't tell you what chest pains are in your body, right, Carolyn?
Oh, no. Yeah, that is too much. If we, try to just, assuage your concerns, and it was something more serious, we often go the opposite and say to people, look, if you're having that much of a problem, you have to see a doctor. And some people will kind of use us as a way to, out of fear of a doctor, or out of fear of having to go to hospital, try to get us to console them, and we just won't do that. And there's been many times when we've told people to go to the hospital, and it has been necessary. So yeah, we're not going to be in a position where we say hospitals are bad and doctors are bad, don't go there. That's not the point. The point is doctors can diagnose. They can, usually they do try to put you on medications, or tell you, keep coming back until we find something really wrong. But if you see a doctor, then you make a choice of what you're going to do from there. And it's often good with doctors to say, well, what if I don't take this medication? Or do you have any alternatives? Or for the most part, when people are having chest pains and they're anxious and they're low in magnesium, for example, then the anxiety drives the condition. And you'll say to the doctor, I just feel so upset, I think I'm going to die. Well, the doctor will respond to the die word. and put you on medication or, you know, do something because they don't want to be responsible for something really serious. So you've got to, you know, be realistic, you know, when you go to a doctor as to what they can do for you. And if they, you know, you got to kind of judge how they come across. If they're sort of saying, well, you know, it's anxiety, here's some anti-anxiety medication. You have to decide, okay, well, I think Remag is going to help me with my anxiety. As long as it's just anxiety, then I'm going to go home and rest and take my Remag. So I mean, I suppose I could write a book with all the instances of what happens in a doctor's office. In the heart health book, I talk about the people who have been diagnosed with AFib, and the doctors will yell at them and say, you know, there's no cure for this. You have to take your medications, and I don't believe I don't believe magnesium is going to help, and you've got to get that out of your mind. So, you know, people will walk away from that type of appointment and have an AFib attack because they're so upset. So there's a real divide between allopathic medicine and alternative natural medicine, and there shouldn't be. I mean, when I was in med school in the mid-'70s, and I went in interested in nutrition and nutrients and lifestyle, and I sincerely thought that by now, I mean, mid-'70s to the 2020s, I thought by now every doctor would have medical knowledge and naturopathic knowledge and be able to support people in staying healthy. I mean, that just made sense to me. But, you know, medicine went to the dark side and just went for the drugs. So it's, you know, it's the fault of allopathic medicine, and it's also the fault of patients for following along when common sense tells them that, you know, drugs are going to have side effects.
Yes, I remember the very first time, and I don't know, I think I was just doing it by osmosis, Carolyn, in 2016. Remember when I went through that big bout of anxiety, and which I'd never even known what that was in my life, but I was working in customer service. I think I was just having sympathy pains. And
Yeah.
anyway, I had to go to a cardiologist, and because I was having that, you know, chest pain and anxiety and stuff. And he was just the most wonderful man. He was actually a DO, an osteopath, and a allopathic doctor. And he was just like, he said, I'm going to give you the best diagnosis that I can give anybody, which is you're just got something where you're getting yourself stressed out, but you have a perfectly healthy heart. And that is the best thing to know when you've got some kind of weird anxiety thing going on. And there's enough craziness going on this planet right now to make anybody anxious. I don't know how most of us are getting through it unless you are on these products. So the best thing you can do is go to a good cardiologist and tell them what you're concerned about, do the stress test or whatever, get it over with, and find out that you have nothing to be worried about. That frees your mind, right?
Yes, right. And, you know, they've got to say the words right, because sometimes they'll just say, well, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just anxious. But if they say the words like your cardiologist did, that your heart is perfectly healthy, it just, you know, and then you can finish up whatever. But people aren't being told that their heart is healthy, and they shouldn't have to worry about their heart, because that's when I had my heart palpitations. It is scary to think that your heart is going to do something weird or is doing something weird.
Yes. Yeah. It's very scary. And also the other thing that happened to me when I did do that was I did find out, though, that I was low in potassium. So I had to change my diet at the time, and I started using potassium as far as more food is concerned. But, you know, that's challenging because a lot of potassium, high dose potassium, is in high sugary foods like bananas and potatoes. So, you're trying to do the keto diet, and then you're trying to be where's your potassium going to come from? So, potassium broth and stuff. But now I don't have that problem at all. I just guzzle that pico potassium. I love that stuff.
Right. Yeah. And when I read that, I sent it right to Jenny when I read about 100% of Americans have low potassium. I mean, that just was incredible.
Yes, and it's understandable because it's hard to get it in food. 4,700 milligrams, it's hard to get that much in food. You've got to be eating a baked potato and bananas and all this stuff. And then what they say is, well, there's a little bit of potassium in most every food. Well, if you're eating processed foods, it's all processed out.
Yes, that's true too. Yeah, that was a real revelation. And also when I just decided to go against the FDA saying you couldn't have a dose more than a quarter teaspoon. And I just made my doses a quarter teaspoon, so that a whole teaspoon of pico potassium is 400 milligrams. And that, in my mind, is probably equivalent to about 800 milligrams in a food or a prescription of potassium, because potassium that's not ours is only absorbed. I mean, maximum would be 50%. So, yeah, I think we have such a wonderful product with the pico potassium. Everybody should be on it.
Yeah, and it doesn't, one of the things that another reason why they ruled against that potassium supplementation is because it was tearing up people's stomachs. They were taking too much, and then they were having to digest it, and it was, old-timey potassium powder stuff that was nasty, and it was hurting people's stomachs. And so now with our great product, you have the absorption and you don't have any stomach issues.
Right. Well, what it was, I think it was way back. I mean, this has gone back to the 50s. It was an enteric-coated potassium. So it was like varnish or something, which is what they use in some of the drugstore vitamins. So enteric coated, so that enteric coating would finally dissolve way down in the small intestine and actually was causing small intestinal ulcers. So they, instead of blaming the enteric coating, they blamed the potassium, which is, just back-asswards, really. Which is the position of allopathic medicine right now. They're really doing everything wrong, I'm afraid. And, with the fact that our drugs mostly were coming from China, and that's being all blocked off, is there going to be a drug shortage? Are we going to be put in a position where we have to take nutrients, and doctors have to start telling people, well, we don't have a drug for it. Maybe you could take magnesium. That could change everything. When people are taking nutrients and their symptoms are going away, they'll never go back to drugs. So it's there's a real game changer afoot right now.
Right on. Very good. And what somebody's asking on the chat line here too, if I have an absorption issue, should all my vitamins be liquid? And can your products help me improve my absorption? Well,
we have all our minerals are liquid, but the vitamins, I guess, we've got they're all food-based. They're powders in gelatin, so the gelatin dissolves in the stomach, and they're absorbed from there. And when you're taking the minerals, they help the absorption of vitamins as well. And just take our formulas. What people have told us when we introduced the Whole C Reset, all of a sudden people say, oh my gosh, I can't believe the Flora Revive. It's for the probiotic, antifungal and probiotic effect. And, I can tell with my bowel movements that everything has shifted. It's quite amazing. So we know from the composition of the formulas, most of them have the RNA powder, so that's a catalyst that helps absorption. Everything's designed for absorption. So just take all our nutrients. Finish off your other bottles and just replace with ours.
One thing that we found out in the world of all this stuff, Carolyn and I, is that formula, just because it's liquid doesn't mean it's necessarily good either, because there are substandard formulations. The integrity of the formula is really so important. And we've gone through a lot of different things, finding the ways to really get that optimum situation. So some of these liquids are full of crap, and they're also full of food colors, sugars, and all kinds of other stuff to make them taste good. And that's the number one complaint that people have, like especially about Remag. Oh, it tastes bad. And we're like, good. It's not been diluted or tampered or anything. It's just hardcore minerals, but it's what your body needs. So you got to kind of take that in with the grain of salt, right?
But what did we do just at the end of last year, created the vitamin C reset berry powder, which takes away the taste of the minerals entirely, and you get your extra couple of grams of vitamin C for people with weak adrenals, our friend with the Addison's disease. You do need a couple of grams of vitamin C a day. So you mix that with your Remag and Remite. I'm mixing about 7 teaspoons of my various minerals with a scoop of vitamin C reset powder. It's 2,000 milligrams. And I was going to say sip it through the day. I kind of gulp it because I swallow my vitamins with it, so that I've got my minerals and my vitamin C. I'm swallowing my others, my D3K2, my Realign, my Flora Revive, and they all work together. They're just like a whole bunch of good food in my stomach.
Yes, I agree. And Bob says he takes his Remag with cranberry juice and it tastes great. And I think cranberry juice and also tomato juice is very conducive if you're not doing the vitamin C or in addition to that, because sometimes like I take that vitamin C powder gets me so hyped up, man. I get so much energy from that. And I take my Remag at night, and I do not want to be hyping myself up with that. Now I can take Remag without anything, but so if you're going to take a little bit at night before you go to bed, maybe a little vitamin, cranberry juice, but you'll figure it out. You can use it on your skin. I mean, there's so much cool stuff you can do with our products. Yeah.
Right. Yes. In the beginning, we were telling people to spray it on their skin, the Remag liquid, and then we came up with Remag lotion. Everybody moved over to the lotion to get their magnesium and their skin care. But yes, we, for people who are new to the Remag, I'm sure a lot of you have had friends who've said, "Oh, I can't stand the taste." So you really have to give them a glass with the RNA, the vitamin C reset powder and the Remag, and let them taste that, and it's just fine. I think we're going to start a campaign about that to try to get back the customers who said, "I just can't stand it. I'll never take it." And there are people who have the genetics that make them super tasters. Those are the people who become chefs or sommeliers. A sommelier, yes. A wine expert. Yeah. So there are people who are sensitive, and we're aware of that, and we don't mock you for it. We just tell you, okay, take it with the vitamin C reset powder. So there.
That's right. That's right. Now, first of all, Alan is making a very good point. This is a very good point. And he says, Remag does not taste bad, but many people are used to overly sweet drinks. And that is a good point. We are sugar consumers in this country, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in animal studies, well, they started with mice and rats. They'll put a sugar sweetened drink, maybe just sugar and water in one tap, and they'll put cocaine in another, a little tubey thing. And the mice learn to go over and tap the tube. They will go for the sugar water before they go for the cocaine.
Yeah.
That's how addictive and, how people just grab onto sugar. It's totally addictive.
Yeah.
And partly I think it's the yeast overgrowth, but yeah, it's, from birth, the colostrum apparently is sweet in mother's milk, and sugar, sugar builds energy, et cetera, but then kids are given juices and given ice creams and then, just given sugars too early. So they just don't get away from it. And look at all our celebrations of birthdays and holidays. They're marked with lots of sugar and treats. That's how you show love. Should be.
That is the truth. That is the truth, and we're not going to tamper with that, Carolyn.
Oh, but what I learned early on was vitamin C is the antidote to sugar indulgence. When we used to have the big Christmas parties with the foster kids, we would have a table of all the treats, and beside it, a couple of bottles of vitamin C. And then come to find out, and I put it in one of my latest books, the whole story about vitamin C and glucose fight for, what do they fight for? That there's a protein that transmits glucose and vitamin C into the cells, a transporter or whatever it's called. And if there's too much sugar, it will bump off the vitamin C and bring the sugar to the cells. But if you have enough vitamin C in your body, it will bump the sugar off, and then you'll just urinate away the sugar and it won't build up in your cells. So there's a real, fight going on between sugar and vitamin C that we've lost that battle, because the nutritionists say that the RDA of vitamin C is only 60 milligrams, 60, whereas Linus Pauling and all the orthomolecular people say that, we should be getting many grams of vitamin C. If people want to learn more about vitamin C, go to our radio show with Andrew Saul, Saul. He's on the board of the Orthomolecular Medical News Service. I'm on the board too, and I've learned a lot with these folks. But anyway, vitamin C is the antidote to sugar intake. So when you go out and have a bunch of sugar, have a dessert, just come home and take your berry powder.
Very good. Absolutely. Or a whole C capsule. That's what I do. I just throw one down. Mm-hmm. Yep. Very good. Uh-huh. Now, Nancy brought up a good point, and Nancy, you're going to get a good answer tonight. And not that we don't always give good answers, but this is very relevant. She says, on the bottle of pico potassium, it states, potassium deficiency is not common in people who eat lots of vegetables. So if you eat a lot of vegetables, then you don't really need the pico potassium, right? Which could be right. But here's something interesting when it comes to product labeling is, the FDA is very concerned about how we label our products, and that we're not presenting a quote unquote, what they call buy or die situation. And so we have to temper all of our information on our labels with FDA appropriate information. And what the FDA wants you to do is to defer to getting your nutrition from diet. So they are going to say, and they've asked us to say, if you're getting a lot of vegetables, you don't need potassium. What it could say is if you're getting 4,700 milligrams of potassium through the vegetables you're eating, then you don't need a supplement. And so you really have to look at what is your dietary intake of in those. And that's why I was saying a baked potato is 1,000 milligrams of potassium. Are you going to eat 4 baked potatoes a day? I can't. I mean, it's too much. And so you have to look at that kind of situation to really vet it out and decide. And also we know about the soil depletion and everything else like that. But we do have to have a balanced position in our product labeling and in our information. So we are saying, please look at your diet. But that is what supplementation is for, is to make up those gaps.
Right. Exactly. We're not, I mean, you heard us at the beginning, the National Alliance, Natural Health Alliance, or whatever it's called, and myself, we talk about how we can't label properly to educate people. And it just made me think of, there's that medium Anthony, somebody or other, who's written a whole ton of books telling people that everything is based on all chronic diseases caused by Epstein-Barr, and he's I don't know if he's a vegan, he's certainly a vegetarian, but he's got everybody on this celery drink diet. And I just realized, celery, what is this? A cup of celery has 322 milligrams. Now, I should look up celery juice. So I'm wondering if his high celery diet is related to the potassium that people get, and people are so low on potassium, they feel better on this diet. So, that was interesting to me. A lot of times when I hear a diet is good or this food is good, I think about magnesium. But now I'll also have to look at potassium as being sort of a game changer, because they do work together.
Yep.
So anyway.
Yep. Absolutely. Very good. So thank you, Nancy, for your thoughtful comment and pointing this out. And it's important. Nancy said she tried the pico potassium, but it made her symptoms worse. She had heart palpitations, leg cramps reoccurred. So she stopped the pico potassium. And she does take the Remite. So that's kind of an interesting conundrum, Nancy. And Nancy's a regular listener to the show. So I would say shoot a quick email to questions, questions, at drcarolyndeanlive.com. And let Melody Rose know you called in on the show, and kind of give Carolyn the protocol of what you're following, and she can help you tweak it. Because it doesn't sound like potassium should throw you out of balance like that, would it, Carolyn?
No, but it does depend on how much Remag and how slow you build up your potassium, because we've had people with magnesium, when they take too much too fast, they rev up their 1,000 enzyme system. So it's got to be there's got to be a way of slowly balancing the two of them together. Because that shouldn't happen, but something's just getting revved up in the dosing.
Right. Absolutely. Very good. So Nancy, we'll support that and help straighten that out if you are so inclined. Maria texted in and said, "I love the vitamin C berry powder. You cannot taste the Remag and Remite." So boom, perfect testimonial for our supposition there. And Corinne had another question, which was, I had a methylation test done, and it said I was deficient in niacin and riboflavin and B12. So I got the Realign. Do you think the other B vitamins are bothering me because it made me nauseous?
Well, that's where you just take it with food, Corinne. It can sort of stir things up. It's low potency Bs, so it doesn't usually cause that, but just take it with food, or some people will open it up even though it's a strong taste because there's sulfur amino acids in there as well. They'll open it up and just sprinkle a bit on their food or take it in water and just slowly build up. So do that.
Okay, very good. And Kathy said, I had a similar reaction to what Nancy's saying. So this is good. Great conversation tonight. So shoot us an email, questions, questions, at drcarolyndeanlive.com, and just let us know what you're doing with your protocol and things like that. And we'll see if we can help tweak it and get it to the way it could be beneficial for you. The same thing happens when people start taking vitamin D. Sometimes it happens when people take zinc. You got to keep your ratios right. And that's what we're always working on too.
Right. When I've taken zinc in the past, it's made me nauseous. So I was very careful to mention that on the label with the Pico zinc to take it with food. But now I just put my, what am I taking? About a half teaspoon a day and sip it or gulp it throughout the day. And I don't have any reaction. So your body gets used to things. When I did a big amount of the Pico zinc in the beginning, because, I like to test things out, I actually had a big reaction. So, the body's going to be stirring things up as it's utilizing these nutrients. And detoxification is a way that the body gets rid of garbage, gets rid of the trash. That's what we call realign, the trash collector.
Yes. And I think everybody who knows our products and has been with us for a while knows we always divide the dose in the beginning to the smallest denominator. It's always half the dose to start. So, your potassium, 1/4 teaspoon, you could start out with an 1/8. Or, Remag, you start out with a 1/4 teaspoon, this kind of thing. You can divide your Realign in half. You can take less of this. You can always use the minerals through your skin. You can nebulize something instead of having to take it directly in your gut if you have gut issues. So we have all these adaptions because our products are strong and the minerals are going to be effective. And sometimes it can throw the little bit of whack, but you just have to circle back around and try it again. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Speaking of bathwater, Bob's just said goodbye to everyone. It's going to the beach.
Oh,
this is beach time.
Yeah, that Maui is some kind of bathwater there.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
With a lot of sea salt in it. It's very healthy.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, what a great show tonight, Carolyn. We're having a lot of fun with our folks calling in on YouTube and typing in and sharing their ideas and their thoughts. It's a very robust conversation and good times. And so we thank the hackers, even though we don't prefer that. And but it's working out. It's working out really well. Thanks everybody for your great contribution. So let's see what else we have to talk about. Did you have some testimonials that you wanted to run down, or anything else you wanted to share?
Sure. Yes, I do. A Facebook testimonial caught my eye. It says, I just ordered the Remag 8 ounces. I'm new to this great self-care and self-acceptance to maintain our body, mind, spirit temple. Thank you, Doug, customer service, for helping me order for my mother, who's just been released from the hospital. So that is sweet. On Facebook, thanking Doug. That's awesome. Another customer service testimonial for Julie. And she says, Julie's saying this, I'm truly a walking testimony for each product. It's almost 9 years since I've found your formulas. My heart is so stable now, and I feel tremendously grounded with the potassium. Could life get any better? We will wait to see. And I said back to her, fantastic. I remember your Pico Silver testimonial too. When we came out with Pico Silver, just, a couple of years ago, Julie started using it and snorting it and whatever, and cleared up a, 15, 20-year sinus problem. And I think Julie continues. The way the products came out one by one gave people an opportunity to experience them from a stable platform and be able to gauge the reaction. Very, very cool. Oh, I said that. And that's what happened, right, Ginny? I mean, we started with the RNA reset drops and the realign, and then came the remag and the remite. So it was step by step. Yeah, here's something from a customer friend. I won't give her name, but she said on an email to me, my dad wanted me to ask, what can he take from your products that can help prevent arthritis? A doctor told him his hip is showing signs of deterioration. It runs in his family. His brother had a hip replacement. So I said back, but is he having symptoms? Because family history doesn't mean anything for someone on the products. And the doctor's just putting negativity into his head by saying this. Even if there is x-ray evidence, there doesn't have to be pain. And she says, the doctor told him his lower back is showing some arthritis, but it is just beginning. And I said, take an x-ray of 100 people and they can find something wrong with every one of them. Doctors are witch doctors who look for something wrong. Don't listen to doctors. She said he's on Remag, Pico Zinc, Realign, Vitamin C, and Pico Silver. I said, that's great. He's wondering if there's anything else he can do. I said he should take Remite as well, 1.5 teaspoons, Remag, 2 teaspoons, Pico Zinc, a half teaspoon, Realign 2 a day, vitamin C powder, scoop a day, Pico Silver, 2 teaspoons a day. She said, I called him as soon as you replied, told him what you said, and went over it. He really did take in what you said about the doctors just saying BS and scaring him because he has no symptoms. The only thing he has is that his lower back hurts sometimes. He's going to get all the products as directed. Really appreciates your help. And I said, probably the safest thing is to do some gentle yoga stretching for the low back. And I sent them to this, one of the yoga tapes, videos that I follow online. A young girl with dreadlocks. So, I mean, look at that. She probably goes in and says, yeah, I got a bit of low back pain. Oh, let's do an x-ray. Oh, yeah, you have beginning arthritis. You better. And thus begins arthritis instead of, doing some stretching and taking some nutrients. But that's how they get patients. Terrible. Terrible.
Hey, Carolyn, what about our testimonial that we got while we were on vacation or break or whatever about our little bicycle person out there?
Oh, right. Do you have it handy?
Yes,
I can
because
find it.
Yeah, I just what I loved about it was this term that we've never really used, but apparently is a thing, and it's called exercise-induced arrhythmias, where people have, right? That is like the most perfect definition of what people experience who've been amateur bikers or marathoners or anything of that nature. Yeah. Exercise.
Well, that's going to go in the heart health book, but if you have the words there to read, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know if you had, I do have it. Hold on just a second. I'll get it for you. Go ahead and do another one and I'll share this when I get it pulled up.
Right. Okay. Well, actually the thing of it is I've run out of testimonials, but
Here it is. Here it is. It's very good. So she said, where are we here? Gosh darn it. Well, I mean, the bottom line of it was that so we have a great study coming up, you guys. We can't talk too much about it because it's not been fully formed yet. And you know how Carolyn and I start talking about things and then it takes 18 months for it to happen. But We have a group of really committed athletes out in Colorado that want to do and prove a study that they've already proven with their physical body, but now they want the science to support what they've discovered. And what they've discovered by using REMAG is that it has absolutely enhanced their physical performance through their mountain biking club. They know this, they've done it, they've proven it with their own bodies, but they're interested, because they're all doctors, in what is the science behind this that supports it. So they actually
here are the words.
Yeah.
And here are the words. She's talking about her mom getting the REMAG, but then she says, I also wanted to add that I reached out to a friend who has battled exercise-induced cardiac arrhythmias for years and has never been able to get a diagnosis for the problem. And he purchased a bottle of REMAG. The REMAG has transformed him, and she bolds that sentence. He said he feels crazy good, and his heart rate has stayed 20 to 30 beats lower during bike train or group rides under the same conditions. I was very excited to hear that, and I'm emailing other athletes that I know with cardiac arrhythmias to encourage them to try it. And so that's awesome. That's going in the Heart Health book in the next edition.
Yeah. It's very exciting, because this is one of the things that we want everybody to know, no matter who you are, whether you're in the greatest of health or whether you're struggling with your health, no matter what age you're at or where you are in your lifestyle, we have products that can support you in achieving more. And that's what people want to do with their life. They want more. They don't want to just be content with whatever they have. They want more.
But it amazes these people we're working with, that they have gone through, what did you say, years of not being told what exactly is going on, and it's remedied with magnesium. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's really something. So we've got it. We're doing it. We're helping. You've got incredible resources at drcarolyndeanlive.com, our radio show website. You've got 8 years of radio show archives, but you've also got all of the webinars now, all of the books, and all of the radio shows. You can keyword search that entire library and find the information that you need. You've got Melody Rose answering emails at questions, questions, at drcarolyndeanlive.com. She's in direct connection with Carolyn every day, and she can field your questions, help you find resources, and talk with Carolyn if you need to in a special circumstance. And you've got us every single Monday. And I think we're the best thing happening in radio today, live radio, call-in radio usually. And we're definitely the best thing that's happening in the natural health community. We're not here with a bunch of fear tactics and silliness. We're here with straightforward, very good advice from an experienced doctor and a naturopath who's willing to spend the time on the phone and talk with everybody. I would really appreciate it if you would share this content with your friends and family and encourage them to listen and to get involved in taking care of their health.
Yeah, let me just say, Jenny, when you were saying that I talk to people on the phone. I don't take consultations or phone customers. I deal with the questions by email, and that usually suffices. And but the customer service folks, they can talk directly on the phone, and they are channeling my words, so it all works out. I just couldn't possibly have enough time to talk to everybody.
Oh gosh, no, but definitely on the radio show. Well, that's what we're here for. So again, wonderful. We are approved, finally, our final words, 2 minutes to the top of the hour. We are approved to go into Canada with our first batch of products. We will give more information about that next week, but Canada, here we come. So we've been up there but now we're up there officially in an import-export, very exciting. So we shall go out singing "Oh Canada" tonight, Carolyn.
Oh, Canada. Where did you hear in Quebec, I forget the name, the police raided a Christmas party of 6 people, dragged people away because they weren't social distance, yelling and screaming, while several of their politicians were partying and vacationing in Hawaii.
I know.
So Canada is going down. It's going down. The remake may not have arrived in time.
Well, we're going to try to boost it back up again. But thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you, Rachel, for the show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back next week, and we'll have a good time once again. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rachel, Debbie, Ginny, Bob, who's at the beach, and everyone for tuning in.
You've been listening to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show. For questions about today's broadcast, email Dr. Dean at questions@drcarolyndeanlive.com. That's questions@drcarolyndeanlive.com.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.